Thank you, everyone, for joining today. We're so happy to be partners with a company like Workforce Go that has been able to provide such great services to our construction customers. Um, Today, our presentation will be on the managing complexities of construction payroll. And just to go over a few housekeeping things, I know everybody's been on a million Zoom meetings before, but if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A box below. If you just want to give us a chat, feel free to use the chat box. And I think we can go ahead and get started. I'm going to pass it over to Jessica Morency, the Senior Sales Manager at Workforce Go, and she's going to be our construction payroll expert today.
Great. Thank you very much. Can you guys hear me okay? And see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, Selena. So it's nice to meet you, everybody. My name is Jessica Morency, and as she said, I am the Senior Regional Sales Manager here at Workforce Go. I'm going to be taking us through just some slides to introduce you to Workforce Go, what it is that we are seeing in the market. And then we'll get into a little bit of the Workforce Go system just to kind of show you what having a tool in place to help manage some of these trends would look like, and how that may be able to improve the way that you're managing things today. So I'm going to start out first with just a little intro. So if you have not heard of Workforce Go before, you know who we are and why we're partnering with Strategies Group and bringing these types of solutions to their clients. We are a end-to-end solution for anything that's required for employees. That's all the way from applicant tracking and recruiting through the onboarding, benefits management, doing training and learning management, performance reviews, goals and KPIs. We handle all of the time collection. We do payroll either as a service or allow you to keep that in-house with full tax filing services, as well as the ability to automate anything that needs to go along with your union certified LCP tracker, prevailing wage, all of those things that you're doing today. Those are things that we are able to accomplish in our platform. Because of our integration to Acumatica, we do also bring you an extra component there with the ability for us to have a seamless API data transfer between the two, keeping the two systems in sync, allowing you to create your jobs and projects and tasks, cost codes, and all of that once in Acumatica, and then bringing it into Workforce Go. That allows for the time allocation, detailed journal transaction, and all of that. And we do post payroll, have the ability to push all of that back so that you have more effective and real-time job costing and billing if that's something that you're doing post payroll. Because of our capabilities to handle all of our construction client requirements, we were voted as Acumatica's Construction ISV Partner of the Year. So we're really proud of that. And I think it speaks a lot to what we're able to accomplish for our construction clients. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about this, but I just wanted to give you a brief introduction as to who we are and where we live with Acumatica with these Strategies Group folks. So some things that we're hearing, I have been doing this for a long time, and that affords me the ability to see some trends and what clients are starting to ask me for, what I am having to solve for, what I'm seeing in RFPs and questions and all of that from clients that I interact with. The workforce shortage is by far the biggest. It's funny, prior to COVID, everybody was kind of humming along just fine. COVID, everybody, decreased their staff. Now, post-COVID, it seems that everybody is increasing. We've got the additional money that's spent on the infrastructure. We've got a lot of clients that are going through acquisition phase and combining their resources. So we're seeing a lot of trend in the opposite direction of people growing, adding headcount. And with that comes, of course, the complexities of how do we do that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The next thing that we do here, and this has been a consistent theme for as long as I've been doing this, and that's about 20 years, of time theft. A lot of people out in the field, just because of lack of technology, lack of ability, lack of, ability to change their process, do manual time entry. And that is, of course, inherent in, or lends itself rather to people exaggerating time or, doing other things with their manual entry, forgetting what they're doing. So I'll talk a little about that and how we can help with that. The other item that comes up often is, and this is actually something that I'm seeing more and more, and I think because more technology is becoming prevalent in the market, more people are now looking for ways that they can track their learning, the certifications that their employees hold. They are looking for ways that they can share that with their clients that may have a requirement to know that the people on the site are actually certified in what they're supposed to be doing. So training, tracking, delivery, keeping up with that, that's another key item that we do see. And then last is the pay rate calculations and reporting. So for those that do have union requirements, prevailing wage, certified reporting, LCP, EMARS, all of those different ones that you may have to electronically submit through. A lot of times I'm hearing from clients that come to us that they're doing that on a spreadsheet, or they're doing it on a legacy system that they're no longer going to be using on the ERP side, and they're going to lose that functionality if they move into a more modern system that maybe doesn't have that built into the payroll component or the accounting component. So we bring that to the table so that you don't have to go through the manual calculations. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and I'll show you what that looks like and how we might manage that piece. Okay. So first, as far as the employment numbers, I was looking for some information as I was getting ready for this webcast, and I did come across this as some trends that the Associated Builders and Contractors had put out there based on some polling that they did. And I'm happy to reference this if anybody wants to read the article. It's actually really quite informative. But they were stating that the construction industry is going to need to attract around 500,000 more employees in 2024 on top of what you'd normally hire for people. And that's due to the increase in projects, the infrastructure spending. It's due to the increase in housing requirements, and more people working from home and moving out to the suburbs and all of that. So there's a definite increase in need for construction projects. In 2025, they're estimating about 454,000 on top of your normal hire. It goes on to state other things such as, 1.5 million people are over 55, so retirement is looming. You've got 100 or about 1.9, I keep wanting to say 100, but it's 1.9 million, not 100. 1.9 million that'll just naturally turn over as a standard turnover in this industry. So it's a pretty big problem, as those listening probably are fully aware. Hiring has become key to bringing in people. The younger employees that you're hiring expect more technology. They expect you to have automated systems. They expect to have, the ability to look at things on their phone. And, if you don't, are you really competitive? Are you really focusing on your employees, or is it more just that you're there to do a business and not really focus on them? So employee attraction, retention is a big key issue. And these are just some of the numbers that kind of support the fact that if you don't have a system in place today, you're going to probably want to think about getting one, because this is going to be, as helpful as it can for hiring folks that you're going to need to hire. As far as the time theft, like I said, this has been something I've heard throughout the years, but this happens in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's on purpose. Other times it's, unintentional. Folks are doing after the fact time entry on their timesheets. They forget, oh yeah, that's right, I wasn't there until 8:30. I'm going to put 8. I'm just going to round up. So they may exaggerate hours. They may forget. They may not job cost themselves properly because they're not doing it in real time. So there's any number of ways that it could innocently occur just by employees not having a system in place to immediately put in, oh, I'm here, I'm there. Oh, at the end of the day, let me quickly go onto my mobile app and then tell the system where I was today. So we'll talk a little bit about that when we get into the employee experience, and you can kind of see what it would look like if you had a system in place for time collection that would allow your employees to easily manage that. The next item for the training and certification, this is actually a screenshot of what we're going to be looking at in the Workforce Go platform. This is coming up a lot, as I said, for different reasons. The OSHA training if you don't have a significant or a sufficient rather place for tracking of that, most people I hear are doing it on spreadsheets. That's not going to allow for reminders to go out to notify people that, hey, your training is becoming, close to expiration, or don't forget to do this on this date. Here's a link that you need to click on to go to that. So it doesn't lend itself, even though it's a tracking mechanism, it does not lend itself to actually managing it proactively. So you have to keep an eye on it. You have to be able to do, the manual touch points and oversight that you may not have time for because you've got so many other things that you need to manage from your employees' perspective. So we can help with that. The OSHA training, we have the annual training, of course, that you can manage through there. We can assign training as a result of maybe an incident. You can track licenses, certifications. If they're going through an apprentice program, perhaps you want to track where they're tracking for pay raises and for other things that may go along with their change of status from, the apprentice up to the journeyman and so forth. So we'll give you that option in here if that's something that you want to look at. And lastly, for the payroll management, as I talked about, the spreadsheets, this is something that we typically would see from a client. As rates change, you have to update it here. You have to update your spreadsheet that you're going to go into and make sure all of the rates are accurate. That just lends itself to error, and then for you to have to go in and do all of those manual calculations. If you have any number of certified reports or union reports that you do regularly, this just becomes a little bit more cumbersome to manage than having a system calculate it automatically for you. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at some of this in the Workforce Go platform as to how those things could be managed. I'm going to kind of go through in the same order as we get into the system itself. Before I start, I do want to just kind of talk a little bit overall about the platform itself. The Workforce Go platform is entirely cloud-based. It is fully mobile accessible as well. So anything the user can do on the website, they can also do on the mobile app, with the exceptions of settings and things like that. It is available in other languages. It natively translates into Spanish and French. We use Google Translate for any other language needs. The system does come with all of the necessary security. So our SOC compliance is in place. We have our multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication, and for the mobile app, you can also allow for people to log in through biometrics, either facial recognition or thumbprint. With the time collection, the mobile app can do geofence or geolocation. All right. Overall, too, the color scheme, branding, all of that can change. So that could be right down to your RBG color scheme. You'll have dashboards and reporting across the top, and this will depend on what you have in place, what your level of access is, what you need the system to do and show for you. Below that, you'll have the ability to put in your own quick links, favorites, whatever you like to call them. You can have up to 10 of these little buttons. You can change the picture, you can change what they're called, and then below that, you can decide what is it that you get to most frequently. What would you like to see in here for quick links to either different areas of the system, to reports, to third-party websites or systems. Okay, so this would look how you needed it to, would not necessarily look like how I've configured mine. And then below that, we've got a library of widgets. So you'll see me come in and out of a couple of these. And this is really just a preference. What do you like to have for access? How do you like to see things? Perhaps it's easier for you to go in through the widgets here. So I'm going to cover one other area just as an overall, so that as we get into different areas, you know what that's going to, or the variances that you might see in your own system. So let me come into one of my dashboards here. I'm starting with recruiting. That's where we're going to focus first, is to talk about how we can help with that, getting and attracting new talent and retaining them and all of that, getting them hired quickly. So I'm going to start here with the dashboard as well. For any of these dashboards, you can have up to 9 different tiles. I've got mine in different types, different sizes. This is another example here. I've got some analytics around my employees, termination, pay statement history, overtime reports, turnover stats, etc. So this will be something that you can make your own, depending on how you like to see information, what it is that you're, wanting to slice and dice and how you want to see it. So my first one here, I've got my job applications widget report. And this is allowing me to see all of my hiring stages and color code these differently. I can sort and filter these differently. If I said, I really don't like it to be like that, I instead would prefer to see it as a pie chart. I can do that, and then I can see it as a pie chart. I could add labels if I wanted to make that a little bit easier. So you can kind of decide how you like to see that. With this being a job application, I can also do a quick find. I can do a keyword resume search right here from the home screen. If you had multiple ways that you wanted to see the information, I could have filtered this differently. I can include different columns, different types of information, and then I can toggle between all of these different looks and feels. Okay, so this is my standard one that I changed to a pie chart, and I can now change it back to that if I want. Okay, so all of this is going to be something that you can say, all right, here's what I really like to see. Here's what my, C-level needs to see. They don't want to get into this, details behind it. They just need to see some stats. So you can kind of configure that as much as you see fit. When you want to work with the information that lives behind it, this, and I covered this at the beginning, just because you're going to see this look and feel throughout the rest of the platform. Let me make this full screen here. So anywhere that we see these column headers across the top with the rows, these are configurable views and reports. So it's going to allow you to say, you know what, I really don't need to see. Here, let me put this back to a different one. Maybe I don't want it grouped by job title. I don't really use the requisition ID, so I'm going to remove that. Perhaps I want to add a column in. I can do that, and I can search by maybe the applicant's city. And then I can decide where does it need to go. And so that's the city I just pulled in. So you can add fields or columns. You can group them. You can sort them. You can do filtering depending on the type of field. You may have access to different types of filtering. So this truly could be made to look how you'd like it to look. If you'd prefer to see it in charts only, you could certainly do this. You could see both on the same screen. If you like pivot tables and that's your thing, I'm not going to keep the changes there. We do have pivot tables. These are embedded in the platform so that you don't have to export it to Excel where data is not as secure. All right, so as far as the analytics, the reporting, we've got you covered. As long as the data is in the system, you can pull it into a report. If you want to share this report with others, like I said, if management needs it, if C-level needs it, if somebody else needs to see it, if you want to have this looked at by hiring managers specifically, you can give all of that security to them for them to do it on their own, or you could certainly create these and share these reports with them. Okay. So again, I covered this at the beginning simply because you are going to see this throughout the rest of what we'll look at here in the next little bit. Okay. So as far as the recruiting is concerned, to talk more about the employment and how we can help with that, we do with the Workforce Go platform have a configurable career page. So on your company website, it would have whatever branding and all of the messaging that you'd like it to have about what it's like to work for your company. And then you might have an apply here button and, open jobs, apply for jobs here, whatever you wanted to say. You'd have some sort of a button. When they clicked on that, it would bring them into this. So this would be what they could see. I've got it by location. They can search. They can do keyword search. In this case, there's 121 jobs that are open. So perhaps we want to search by different types, different locations. When they do apply for a job, we have a couple of different options. And this, again, is what I was talking about as far as getting candidates through the door. I've been at this a while, like I said, and so, it used to be that you had to fill out every single field over and over. I don't know how many times I could put in my previous employer and reference, all that stuff. It's not so much the way that a lot of companies do it, at least from what I'm hearing now. More often, clients are looking for a quick way to get candidates in and they can then do a basic review or have the system help with some disqualifiers or qualifiers, and then disposition them so that they can move on to the more qualified candidates. So depending on what your company's needs are in that vein, we may have, different ways that we can do this. But this is an example of a quick apply. Gives them a nice little reminder, has them put in some basic information, the asterisk denoting that it's required. And then in this case, we have the client asking about specific things. So they've configured their own library of questions to say, please answer these as a required field for the quick apply option. So it stops the client, or for the employee rather, from being, filling in all of these fields that people are probably just going to say, yeah, I'm not doing that. Move on to the next one. So they'll be able to do this quickly. They can upload a resume, they hit continue, they're done. If you use Indeed, which most people do for recruiting, we do have bi-directional integration to Indeed. So instead of them doing this on your website, if they're using the Indeed portal to click on a job that you've posted there, they might use their Indeed profile to apply. That data is going to pull right back into Workforce Go. So we do have some configurability as far as how you're posting your jobs, how you're being seen in the market. We can integrate to Indeed as a bi-directional integration, but we can post out to any other job board. So that would be your LinkedIn, your ZipRecruiter, Monster, Dice, Career Builder, Hot Jobs, all those types of things. Okay. So that is just an example of what a career page might look like, what an applicant experience might look like. If we need to do a more long, involved application process where you have the candidates uploading their resume or their LinkedIn profile and having it parsed and then filling out all of the additional information, doing knockout questions, doing, testing or other types of items that you might add to the experience, you certainly can do that. And it could be down to the open job that you do that for. Might be for some, but not for others. Okay. So to be able to get your applicants in the door quickly is important. Working with those candidates as they do come in. I'm going to come into one here. I've got a couple of folks that are at a point of needing to be screened. So I can come into this, can review the candidate. I can see where they're at the hiring stage. I can move them through. I can see their resume. I can download it if somebody prefers to see it. You can rank them, put them into a different status. You could do notes. You could add questionnaires, post-interview questionnaires, etc. So all of these types of automation components could be added within Workforce Go. You can do offer letters. You can schedule interviews. When you are ready to hire them, you simply click on the hire. It parses as much information from the applicant as it can and pulls it into the employee record. So it truly is one system. It's not a separate one that we're pulling in. So it parses all of that information into an employee record as much as it can. You can add other types of information that perhaps you add after the fact. You can add your compensation, any additional automatic payments such as cell phone reimbursement, etc. Taxes, settings of what they can see, how they're going to be treated in the system, and then you're done. You click continue, they're added as a new hire. So from there, we can automate the onboarding process. And that may look like something like an email going out to say, hey, welcome to the company. Click here to log in and complete your paperwork. Click here to download the mobile app, whatever you want that message to say. They come in, they go through their onboarding process. We can keep it entirely paperless. They can go through all of that piece without needing to have a single piece of paper if you choose. If you're doing a large hiring where you've got folks that are coming in and sitting down and you're doing sort of a, oh, the word's escaping me. It's not an introduction meeting. I'll remember it later. But when you're doing something like orientation, that's what I'm trying to think of. So when if you're doing a new hire orientation, perhaps you have everybody sitting together, you have tablets or they have their phone, they can all do it together. If you want to sit down with them one-on-one because they need some help, that's fine too. You could certainly do that. And you can click on the employee that you've just added and come into their record. So as an admin, this comes up, let me get that. So as an admin, I can log in or spoof an employee. So if they are somebody that needs help walking through their onboarding packet or anything like that, you can sit down with them and say, all right, let me log in as you. and let's go through and get this done together. All right, so various ways, whatever works for the individual that needs to be onboarded. So this brings us into the time collection. I'm in here now as an employee. So I'm going to talk about some of the ways that we can help with the time collection to mitigate that time theft or just make the process easier. As employees are out in the field, if they're using a mobile device and they have the mobile app downloaded, we can have them clock in and clock out on the mobile phone with or without geofence or geolocation if they're allocating their time to a job. This looks identical on the mobile app as it does on the PC. It just scales down and becomes mobile accessible. But for here, if they want to clock in, if I'm required to change my costs, my jobs, departments, etc., it would automatically pop up for me. In this case, I have the ability to change my company, department, project, or labor item. You can have different levels. These are just examples. So if they are required to change their work classification because they're going to be working as a journeyman instead of an apprentice today or whatnot, they can come in here and change that piece. So they would be able to see that. They could see the defaults. If we have them defaulted to a certain classification or project, etc., we can default that for them to change. This is where we pull in all of the job codes that were more recently used, or in my case, projects. And I can also browse and see more information. Because of the integration with Acumatica, once these are created in Acumatica, this is where they land here in Workforce Go as a cost center. That allows that time allocation to be done. So they may come out here and do their project, labor item, and they've now allocated their own time at 12:29. So instead of having to wait till the end of the day, I'm going to hit no, I've got attestation for any of you California folks out there that have this. Attestation is something that we can accommodate as well for them to be asked questions when they clock in or out or change their job in this case. So as employees are working out in the field, they're able to real time do their time input instead of waiting till the end of the day. Helps mitigate that lack of memory, the exaggeration. We know the exact date and time. Okay. This is a potential back end of the timesheet. So I can see here the from and the to, what we're doing for lunches, the defaults, what they've done for allocation, any notes they may have added, and the column headers across here can vary depending on what your needs are for the time component. Again, if we have worker classification, union code, other types of information, we can certainly do that as a column for them to select from, or just have visible if there's a need for them to confirm that that's where they should be. Not all employees are going to know this. 100% aware that clients tell me that my employees aren't going to do that. If this is the case for you and your employees aren't going to do that, they can certainly still give that to their manager. Their managers can enter it in, or they can do crew entry where they enter, what the information is for each employee. Maybe we upload it from Excel if that's the preferred method of tracking out in the field, because you don't have access to do that in a real-time manner. So there's variations. We don't have to have things one way or the other. Some folks like to collect time in Acumatica because it makes sense for them as a field service time or to be collected against a ticket. We can bring that into. But they can come in here and do extra pay if they need to report expenses. They could pick maybe piecework and they could tie it to a job or something else that may be there for allocation based on a quantity or duration of time or a dollar amount. Okay. So the time entry can be configured. It can be done on the mobile, it can be done on a computer. It can be done by a crew leader. It can be done in Acumatica. And we do also have kiosk or web clocks. If you want to post an iPad or pass it around to people at the job site, that's something that you could do as well, where they're just simply using a badge ID or a number to clock in or out and change their time to a different job if they're allocating on their own. We also have full hardware options too, if there's a physical clock and a badge that you'd prefer for that. So, just thinking of this as far as the time theft and all of that, if we have systems in place, that's a step in the right direction to take it off of manual paper. If it doesn't make sense, we do have the ability to import and help at least with the calculation of overtime, double time, fringes, all of that goes along with it. Okay. So that's a little bit about the time and how we might address that. As far as the learning management, that was the next item that we had listed in our trends here. The learning management is really a comprehensive tool, and there's a couple of ways that we think about learning management. And one of them that comes with the basic HR is the ability to track on the employee, and I'm going to come into this one here, to track on the employee, what is it that they've taken? When did they take it? When does it renew? When does it expire? Who was the instructor? Continuing education? Are there any costs? So these types of things you can track in the basic HR platform that we have. It allows you to at least have the place to put that if you're doing it in an Excel spreadsheet today. Allows you to produce a report if you need to show a client, hey, these are the employees that we have on the job site today. And you can filter by employees and by type of certification and all of that. You can show that. There are capabilities to do attachments. So if we need to show actual certificates, you could certainly do that too. So this is more of a back office tracking, reporting, analytics. It does have the ability to send reminders, to notify people. If you're doing in-person training, there's some basic capabilities to enroll in in-person training sessions. This doesn't deliver content. It doesn't deliver testing or certification, step-by-step processes. It's more of that back office tracking. So as far as the training is concerned, if there was a need for you to have actual training courses assigned, I've got one opened up over here. There we go. I'm in this as the admin view. So this particular piece here is an add-on component through integration. It's a company called Schoox, and that's SCHOOX. They are our learning management platform. This platform is configured as well. So again, if you are looking, and I'm on as the admin here to show this is just a dashboard of the employees and where they're at with their training. For this, we can see a lot of information. So you may not need this much. You may not use all of the analytics. You might just need it for a delivery platform. With this particular one, you can come into upload training that you already own. If you've purchased training from a library of training content, you can upload what you already own. You can link it to an existing provider if it's online. You can purchase new training through the providers that work with the Schoox platform. You can create your own. You can upload a PDF, a YouTube video. You can have in-person training. You can have the employees have access to kind of do things. So there's a lot of functionality that may be possible if you're looking to really enhance what you're doing today. And where I hear a lot of this is with the folks that need to do the OSHA training. They're doing some of it in person, some of it in groups. They're doing it online, and they may not have access to easily report or manage this as far as what their needs are. So that's often in construction where we hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, we can do the OSHA 10 tracking." So this is a good place for that. Again, I'm on here as the administrator just to kind of give you an idea of some of the complexity. But if we look at the online training capabilities, they can assign. You can have them retake it. You can do courses that you have out there so that they can just search for different types of courses. We can do prerequisites. So there's a lot of functionality here for that. When I come to just an actual training class, if I wanted to start, these are as a employee, the training that was assigned to me. So you might have a new hire that comes on board and they get automatically assigned all the new hire training. Oh, they're in this job or this role, they're required to do this. Great, let's put them in that training as well. Oh, every year we have to renew this, or every 2 years they have to renew that. Let's send reminders and automatically assign the course to them. Well, there was a safety incident, let's automatically assign this bucket of training based on their type of incident. So when they come in here, they would just start the course and it brings me into the content. So I can continue, I've got lectures, I've got quizzes, and it's a step-by-step. So it's easy for people to follow. It's easy to see where people are at. If we need to have some oversight as to what things are going on and who's completed what, can they get back on the job site? Can they not? So these are the types of tracking that are possible with a more in-depth learning management component. So if this is something that you guys are struggling with, this is something that we can assist with as well. Okay. And last but not least, let's talk about the payroll aspect of this. Payroll calculations for all of the fringes and the union rates and the prevailing wages can be very complex, especially if you're working in ones that have multiple locals and they work in multiple locals each week, and we've got to do all sorts of different things with that. The way that we manage the construction payroll calculations is to first understand what it is that your requirements are. So we have a team that would be working with you that have been implementing or have experience in the construction payroll space. And they would be kind of understanding what your CBAs are if you have unions, looking at your fringe rate sheets. What does the output need to look like? Are you using LCP? Are you using something different? And we would get to an understanding of what your requirements were. We have created what we call our construction utilities. These live outside of Workforce Go, simply for the reason that we wanted something that looked a little bit more spreadsheet based, that allowed for more complexity without the complex rate table setup that would be needed within the Workforce Go platform. So as you have new jobs that are certified or union specific, you can come out here and easily manage that. So this does live outside of the Workforce Go platform, but it does talk to and from through API. So it doesn't require any additional work than what you normally do if it was inside the system. So the process that you would go through as you create the job or project in Acumatica or your ERP, you also either through your Acumatica integration, bring it into Workforce Go. If you're not using Acumatica, you enter it or import it into Workforce Go. As it's marked certified, it comes out here as a certified job. Now the table that I'm in right now is my fringe projects, but what I can see here is all of my project names, the worker classifications associated with that. And then I have my fringe deductions for the employer, the employee, my fringe rate, and the prevailing wage. Because this information is tying directly back to Workforce Go, what it will do is say, this is the prevailing wage rate for this certified job for this type of worker classification. Let me look at their base compensation record and determine, are they at or above prevailing wage? If they are, fantastic. If they aren't, then what do? Do we offset with fringe? Do we, pay them cash in lieu? What is it that you need it to do? So we'll configure these to meet what your requirements are as to how these need to be calculated. As you have new jobs, populate your cost centers, you update the rates. So it's a set it and forget it as you get new jobs that are certified or prevailing wage. You can import if you have a lot of them. You can modify one at a time. You can enter one at a time to add them to the list. All right, so this would be a one and done for you. We have the fringe rate reports, and what these are going to do is say, okay, oops, I talked too long. What these are going to say is, all right, we have these reports set up in Workforce Go that say, all right, this employee A has a fringe rate calculation of this based on their 401k contribution, based on their time off plan, based on their life insurance. So we have all of these reports that would be built to your requirements to allow us to say, okay, for the employee, great, that's the fringe rate package, but how does it relate and how does it calculate specific to that one employee? That's what these will do. And where you would see the result of that is here. In my table, I only have holiday, life insurance, and time off. For each employee, I can see here based on the way that we calculate those reports, as you tell us, and based on the prevailing wage, here's the fringe rate for each individual employee. Okay, so this is all, again, informational, but what this shows you is that once you set up the reports, once you set up the prevailing wage, this is not something that you're going to have to do on a spreadsheet. You won't have to do it each payroll. You're only going to do it as new jobs get added. Okay. For those that have union, we have our union rate tables. So same kind of concept per union, per classification, you may have a different union wage rate. For the fringes, what type of fringes do you have per type of work classification? What's the fringe rate? What type of earning and deduction code are we going to see, if at all? Okay, so again, these would be set up based on your CBAs. As you work in new unions, and we've got clients with upwards of 70 different unions. So we've seen a lot. One of our biggest industries that we work with is construction. We have seen a lot, we've done a lot. We will talk with you if there's any complexity that you have that we maybe don't have the ability to address. All of that would be vetted out, but we've seen a lot, we can manage a lot, and we've done so quite successfully with some of these different ways that we've managed this here. So we'll have all of this again set up once. As your union rates change, you're the one that's coming out here and you're able to affect the change here on your own. You don't have to call us unless you need our support for that. Okay, and then the payroll process file, will come back to that. So as far as the union calculations are concerned, this is a set it and forget it, what you'd normally do for your rate tables. So as rates change, as projects change, as they get added, all of that would be managed in that area. When it came time for payroll, we would come into the payroll process. I'll open up one of my existing ones here. You'd initiate your payroll and you'd process that payroll file. So that's going to do the automatic calculations for all of the jobs that people may have clocked their time to that are certified, or if they're a union type of employee, or if it's a prevailing wage job, all of those based on how we configure the system would then come back in and do those calculations for payroll. So when it came time for payroll, you'd simply be making sure that all time was approved, imported from Acumatica if needed, or another system we could add. This is just a little button that we can configure here. You'd make sure all time off was requested and approved. All the timesheets were approved. You'd reapply your pay calculations to ensure that all those fringes were correct, and then you'd run through your payroll process. Okay. We could probably spend about 3 hours going through some of this with the different ways that we might see or need to see things. But this, I think, as far as for today, giving you kind of a basic overview of how we'd manage certain areas of the areas of construction, or areas that construction folks are asking more about. That's kind of what I wanted to cover for an overview today. Once payroll is finished, you have your reports, you can embed them in the system, you can have them generate the LCP tracker, you can generate your WH-347 if you have a state-specific form. If we're generating a union report, all of those are things that you could add here for you to just generate once payroll has been finalized. Okay. So I'm going to stop there. I've covered all of the different trends that we've talked about, that we hear about, kind of ways that we can help in the system, how we can manage those or automate some of that for you and help you address some of the trends that we're seeing and hearing about in the employee management in the construction space. So Selena, I will ask if there's any questions at this point or anything that I didn't cover.
No, yeah, this was great. There's so many aspects to HR and payroll that companies have to go through, especially construction companies with the union side of things. And it's so great to see that there's a tool that can handle a lot of those different aspects.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask if anybody has any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A box right now. It doesn't seem as though we have any. But if you have any questions, feel free to put them in. While I wait on that, I'll let everybody know that I will be sending a recording of this webinar out. So if you want to share it with your team members, or if you might have missed something and you want to take another look at it, you will be getting a recording of this after the webinar is over today. In addition, if you're interested in Workforce Go at all, feel free to reach out to Strategies Group or Jessica if you have her contact information, and we are happy to set up a more specific demo or have further conversations about how that would work for your particular organization. It doesn't seem as though we have any questions, so
Okay.
I think that's all for today, unless you have anything else, Jessica.
Nope, nope, that's all. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share this with you, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise. Everybody have a great day, and I'll be sending out the recording soon. Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.